Mhm.
This is Vertical Farming Conversations. I'm Joel Coelho, Professor of Biosystems Engineering at the University of Arizona. Today, we're joined by Martin Molenaar, who is the co-founder and CEO at AVISOMO, which is based in Oslo, Norway. Martin, welcome to the conversation.
Thank you so much, Joel. It's a pleasure being here.
All right. So, Martin, I understand, of course, that you have a bachelor's degree in electrical engineering and you have a master's in sustainable manufacturing. And AVISOMO was established, or you founded it or co-founded it in 2018. So tell us what gravitated you toward the vertical farming industry.
Sure, yeah. So in 2016, 17, I was studying in South Korea. At the time, I was studying electronics in South Korea, and there this technology was much bigger at that time. So I stumbled upon it quite literally because it was in a subway station in South
Oh,
Korea.
yeah.
And yeah, so I got familiar with the technology, and I figured this is something Norway really needs because it's cold and so on. And that was my first meeting, and also how I thought I was going to bring this back home.
So just out of interest, why did you decide to study in South Korea? And
Well, it's the
was
best
that for your master's or your bachelor's?
for my bachelor's in electronics. So, well, it's basically because it's the best country in the world for semiconductors and electronics, as was my field of interest.
Right.
Yeah,
And did you enjoy your stay in Korea?
absolutely. I'm going back there very soon, actually, to revisit a lot of friends and also just see the country one more time.
Wonderful,
Uh,
wonderful. Yes, yes. So let's talk about AVISOMO. And of course, with AVISOMO, you have a standardized growing system, which is a trolley. And you have a name for it. Is it the fray growing system?
that's correct.
Okay, so tell us about it and why did you decide to go with that modular unit? What are its advantages and so on?
Hmm. So the whole idea came about from the greenhouse industry, really. So greenhouses, they do all internal logistics. They usually do it in these trolleys, Danish trolleys, CC trolleys. They have many names. And the benefit of these trolleys is the flexibility in the shelf height. So you can have many shelves or just a few, depending on the size of the plants.
Mhm.
And also, these trolleys are made for logistics. So they fit perfectly in the back of a truck and they fit perfectly in between aisles in the greenhouses and so on. And we wanted to help farmers in Norway to actually, oh, my camera is acting up. We wanted to help farmers in Norway, greenhouse farmers, to propagate plants indoors so that they can move plants back into the greenhouse. There, I think I fixed it.
Yes, I thought you
So
were
yeah,
doing
that's
some
kind of
special effects.
yeah. No, it's not that fancy. But yeah, so it came from propagating indoors, really. So they
Right.
could have a simple way of transporting plants that came from or seeds coming into their greenhouses, placing that somewhere so they can grow the plants and propagate them in trolleys, and then move the plants into greenhouses. So what is today called hybrid production.
Yes.
So that's where it came from. And then we have kept on developing it because we thought there was this unseen potential in doing logistics in trolleys where the height of the shelves are flexible.
Yeah.
So we kept on developing that, and today we have a system where we park trolleys in stations, and the station is where all the technology is. In the trolleys, there are no technology at all. There's
Mhm.
no light, no irrigation, no piping, no connectors. The trolleys are just simple trolleys with shelves. And then we park the trolleys in the station, which has the lights and the irrigation system and
Okay.
the ventilation as well.
All
So we
right.
can flexibly move trolleys from one place to the other depending on where they need to be and depending on what crops are in the trolley.
Yes. So in other words, you have the structure of the trolley, and then you can add on to that the lighting system, the irrigation system, and so on and so forth.
Yeah, or by parking the trolley in what we call the stations, then
Yeah.
they receive the lights. So we basically dedicate spots in the facility where trolleys can be parked. It could be parked by humans or robots,
Yeah.
And if the trolleys are parked in the right spot in what we call the growing station, so the
Right.
parking spot for the trolley,
Yeah.
that's where the lights and the everything is. So the trolleys are never connected to the system; they're just parked in the right place.
That's right. And then you
Mm,
move them around or you automate them using a mover bot. Tell us about the mover bot
correct.
you use.
Yeah. So we work with a partner with TTA or their mother company called Euro Group. They're very familiar with this in this space.
Right.
And they deliver what's called the low pad, and we use that to do the logistics of the movements of the trolleys.
Mhm.
And the reason why we do it this way is because the low pad doesn't need to sleep, so we can do all internal logistics during night, or a lot of the logistics during night.
Right.
And then also the low pads, they ensure that we can move the trolleys from one treatment to the next treatment and to the fourth treatment. So in a AVISOMO system, the plants doesn't only have germination, propagation, and growth. We have germination, propagation, first growth, second growth, and fourth growth, and then treatment at the end,
That's
because we can move these trolleys flexibly depending on where they need to be.
Yeah, I think I should state to our audience, although most of them who know you know this already, that
Yeah.
AVISOMO is not a vertical farm per se, but you are an ag tech supplier or provider, correct?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a good statement. That's important.
So let's talk a little bit more about your trolley system, your modular unit. What considerations did you have when you designed that? For instance, in terms of what material to use.
Hmm. So I think the most important design detail that we did was to standardize the height of the trolleys. So
Okay.
our trolleys are always one height, and then we can
Right.
choose how many levels that are inside that standard height.
Mhm.
I think that's the most important thing, because that means we can standardize the rooms that we build this in.
Right.
We can standardize the climate systems. We can standardize a lot of the irrigation system as well.
Mhm.
This is just cheaper and much easier to do engineering.
Right.
Yeah, as we're doing engineering for many potential clients all over the world, it's important to keep standards.
Yes.
That's
And
makes
Martin,
it
would you
easier.
say that the height of a shelf is adjustable?
Yes, it is. Yeah,
So
we need to move the trolleys to a robot that does the spacing, but
that's
we call it shuffling. But yeah, we can have trolleys with 15 layers and all the way down to one layer.
yeah. So the
Yeah,
weight of the trolley, of course, matters. So in that regard, what material did you decide to use?
yeah. So our trolleys made of aluminum, 3 millimeter aluminum, and we have plastic trays for the growth, and the
Okay.
entire structure that keeps the lamps, keeps the sensors, and the irrigation system is also made of aluminum.
Right. Excellent.
Or
Yes.
aluminium. Aluminium is probably the right word.
That's right. Yes.
Yeah.
Aluminum, yeah. All right. So
Yeah.
now there is this exciting news, of course, that you shared with the rest of the world last November, that you formed a strategic partnership with a global retailer, Coop Norway. Tell us about that exciting news.
Sure. Cope Norway. So it's very important to know that Cope Norway and Cope Sweden, for example, they're not connected. So we're in partnership with Cope Norway. But there are same initiatives all over the world that we can see.
Yeah.
Um, and Coop Norway, we have a partnership to build a farm for co-op. So
Wow.
as you said earlier, we're a technology provider, and we
Yeah.
provide the technology, and it's a joint venture. So we're both in it to build a very efficient and very integrated farm. So it's
Yes.
integrated into their distribution center,
Mhm.
and all the way into their ERP system, actually. So from historical data, from what is consumed or bought in their stores, we are growing out of estimates from those historical data,
Right.
and it's actually implemented all the way into our software. So yeah, in the facility we're building, we're actually telling each box which store they're going to already in our facility. So that's
Yes.
a very highly integrated system that we're about to build.
So for those who are not so familiar with Cook Norway, because they're from other parts of the world, it's a
Mm,
grocery store, I suppose. Yes.
that's
Right.
true. It's a
And
supermarket chain, and they have about 30% of Norway's supermarkets.
excellent. Yes. Right.
Yeah.
Um, can you reveal to us what sort of crops they're planning on growing using your
Yeah,
system?
sure.
Yeah.
So this is a pretty strange project in the vertical farming world, as we are here to prove full automation, and that's the key of this first phase.
Mhm.
So we're here to prove that these crops can be grown using only a few key employees, and everything is done by machines. So that is the most important thing that we're proving now, and we're going to prove this
Right.
through just growing lettuces and so crispy lettuce and arugula. That's the
Okay.
two crops we're going to grow.
All right.
Um, and that is not a problem to reveal. But
Mhm.
the automation level is what's most important. So
Yeah.
we're investing in an automation line that can fully automate the entire facility. But then as we see the automation work, as it's proven, then we can scale up in the same facility, because we built automation line that is already too big for the growing area that
Right.
we built. And
So
this is
Martin,
the modular approach. Yeah.
yes. So Martin, when you say automation or full automation, does that mean that
Mm.
that encompasses, stages from germination, seed germination to planting, if there's going to be a transplant, and then the growth and the harvesting?
Mm. Everything is automated, and we're running 1,000 square meters on only one employee.
Yes, right.
Yeah.
And again, to the extent that you're able to talk about this, does that mean that in addition to your modular units, are you going to be using, say, robotic arms or some sort of robot that will assist in the automation?
Yes, there will be robots handling the the growing trays that we use.
That's right. Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
How exciting. Yes. And now it says on reports that Coop Norway is hoping or is planning to start selling your produce grown in your system by the
Mm.
end of the year. So at what stage are you in now in terms of developing this fully automated system?
So we've been planning this for a long time in AVISOMO internally. So this is
Mhm.
just finally we can actually take these plans to reality. And
Mhm.
yeah, we're on track. We're on track to do what you said, delivering lettuce to the Norwegian market by the end of the year.
All right.
And yeah, it looks good.
Okay.
We're on time.
Martin, in terms of expansion, I mean, beyond Norway, so we're talking about European or global expansion. Do you have any plans for that, or what are your plans for that? I mean, talking about AVISOMO on one hand, and also this joint partnership between AVISOMO and Coop Norway.
Hmm. So this joint venture is a way for us to prove our technology in full automation. And that is the what we're going to do. And after that, our ambition is to sell systems all over the planet.
All right.
So we look at ourselves as born global. That's the word.
Oh, wow.
And we've always been looking for clients outside of Norway. But
Right.
we're very fortunate that we have made a partnership with Co-op in
Mm.
our own country. That makes it much easier to scale up.
If I may say so, and I hope you don't mind, you're speaking like a true Viking. You want to go global.
That's true. That's true. It's in our blood.
Now, Martin, what about the cost? What can you tell us about it? Because you're aiming for full automation, so for some locations, some countries, that's a concern. But of
Hmm.
course, you're operating in a specific location, starting in Norway and then from Norway. So what can you
Hmm.
comment on that?
Um, so in terms of what I believe is has been very wrong in the vertical farming industry is the price of the equipment. I think it can be done much simpler, and that's kind of what we're proving as well through Avisomo and what we're doing. So our aim is to be able to deliver full automation facilities at 1,100 euros per square meter. That is the goal. And that's very low compared to what the industry sees today. And that's full automation, including everything except the building, 1,100 euros per square meter. That is a goal. Let's see if we can meet that target.
All
And
right.
yeah, I think we're
And
going to prove it over the next year.
that's exciting. And for the information of our audience, what is the current average right now? Like how much euros per square meter for full automation?
It keeps changing, and it kind of depends on how much you take into the calculation. But with everything into account, I would say 1,800 plus euros.
Okay.
And
Per square meter.
1,800 is cheap in the industry.
Right. But you're aiming to go down to about 1,100. So that's
Yeah, that is what we plan to be able to deliver this year.
okay. So I really like what you're doing here, because you're essentially designing for full automation, but in a way, in a lean way, so it becomes more economically competitive.
Yeah,
And I think that's a very worthy pursuit in terms of um, increasing the efficiency of vertical farming as well as the cost. And of course, one advantage
absolutely.
of having full automation is you're able to lower down your labor costs, particularly in countries like Norway and other developed economies where labor is at a premium. So it
Yeah,
makes sense that way. Yeah.
and we're able to scale. That is also the importance, because
That's right.
scaling this technology is what really needs to be happening in order to achieve those sustainability goals that the
That's right.
technology can actually do.
Right. And in the news report, of course, it's stated there that in terms of your joint partnership with Coop Norway, you're starting with a facility that is 1,000 square meters, and where you hope to produce 110 to 150 tons leafy greens per year.
That's correct.
Okay, so that's an impressive figure, yes. So last question, Martin, is looking ahead, looking forward into the future, would it be possible to grow staple crops in vertical farms, and including in your systems? Now, we know, of course, technically speaking, that can be done. NASA has already demonstrated that decades ago. The question, though, is doing it in such a way that it would be economical as well, economically competitive or viable here on Earth. So how do you see
That's
that?
true.
How do you
Well,
parse
that's a very philosophical and important question, and I really like to talk about this question to anyone I meet in the industry. To me, it's really fascinating to think about a world in the future where we can grow staple crops in this technology. I believe it has everything to do with crop development or variety development. So making varieties that are specifically tailored for indoor facilities. I think that is super important and is the key to make this work. But yeah, I fully believe that the future holds this. And I also encourage all the companies in the vertical farming industry to actually start looking in this direction, because it would be there's a lot of information that needs to be shared in order to make that a reality. So I
Correct.
think that everyone should try, and we should just try to share that information to make it work, because that's the true potential of this technology.
Right. So by the way, related to that, and speaking of Norway, and by the way, I love Norway. I've been to Norway many, many times because I have collaborators there. But
Nice.
what are the biggest exports or imports, sorry, imports of Norway when it comes to crops?
Hmm. Soy.
Okay, soy
Uh,
or soybeans, yeah.
yeah,
All right.
I think soy is the biggest import, besides rice, I would
The
imagine.
rice,
But to be
that's right.
honest, I haven't really looked into those numbers.
Okay.
I only look at the leafy greens and the soft fruits
Yes. I
mostly.
asked you this question because I'm relating, of course, being able to grow staple crops like
Hmm.
rice and wheat in vertical farms, because doing so would really free up a lot of land,
Yeah.
and you can give back the land back to nature, and 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 when we talk about Norway, we always associated that with pristine environment, the natural environment. And of
Hmm.
course, you don't want to take more of land out of nature, speaking of Norway, to be able to
Hmm.
produce food. So this conversation we're having right now in terms of your point is really well taken. It's really crucial for not just for the rest of the world, but even for Norway. So can you
Hmm.
comment more on that?
I would say for Norway, it's more about growing the crops that we're not able to grow at all because of our humidity and the temperatures that we have and the spikes in temperatures. So it wouldn't be possible, and that's the true potential for vertical farming in Norway. But then we have other countries that are basically completely covered in staple crops, not having any forest left. Those are the countries that we really want to help, and the countries that really need to, or could have so much more biodiversity compared to what they have today. It's biodiversity which is really the key, to me at least.
That's
Being able to drive a positive biodiversity growth.
okay. All right.
Yeah.
So, Martin, thank you so much for your time. And the industry is looking to your company, AVISOMO, and of course, other providers as well, to really figure out a design for an automated vertical farm system that is, on one hand, doing the job that it's supposed to do, but at the same time has reduced cost. And I think that's a very worthy endeavor in our industry. So, Martin, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you so much for having me. And
All right.
yeah, have a good, still a good day.
You too.